From the Fathead Studio in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Man, am I still pretty? And he's like, you ain't pretty, but you're going to be all right.
And now I'm just hanging on, looking at the wall, like flying this way. And I'm like, oh man, I got to let go of this thing at some point.
And then there's one that could literally pick you up.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not really sure about that, but yeah.
That's called a helicopter.
Well,
And the last lap was just chaos. I mean, like 4 wide, 5 wide.
It's like whatever, if you land it and send it into the fence, you're probably not gonna get hurt. Bounce, and then this insane roll, the car that Keegan was in. I mean, I don't know, it's the shape of the Beetle or what, but that thing sent it.
So I was the supercharger specialist on my old man's car with
Specialist?
Yeah, it sounds cooler than crew guy.
Hi, I'm Tony Stewart.
I'm Mario Andretti.
I'm Christy Lee.
I'm Alexander Rossi.
I'm Cruz Pedregon.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Hammond, and this is The Skinny.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Skinny. Looking forward to this show here. We have a great young gun from short course off-road racing that will join us. We're right now bringing you this episode from the PRI show. 2023 is coming to a close. We love being here in Indianapolis. We're inside of the MAVTV booth, of course, home to The Skinny. I'm Ken Stout. That is Rico Elmore. We have Mr. Stephen Grind back behind the controls along with Greg Hunter. A couple of camera guys here as well, courtesy of MAVTV, so we want to take full advantage of this one. Sitting alongside, that is Mr. CJ Greaves. Yes, the son of legendary Johnny Greaves. Do you ever get introduced without somebody mentioning your dad's name?
Not
It'd
typically.
just be wrong. For me, he might leave me out in the lake somewhere.
He might leave you out in the lake is right.
It's great to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Glad to. I was hoping to get you and your dad, but speaking of the lake, I mean, I know he's not on the lake. He's down there in the Gulf, but
Yep. We couldn't get him away from Florida, so I'm here doing the dirty work for him.
Doing the work, keeping the sponsorship stuff alive.
Absolutely.
You're a young gun. You got plenty of energy. Great to have you with us. So you come down from the Northwoods there and spent a little time here at the show.
Yep. I actually came in from Utah. I just
really?
did a 4-day commercial with Toyota on the new Tacoma.
Really?
The new Tacoma that's coming out.
4-day commercial.
4 days. 4 days of shooting.
How much did you actually drive and shoot?
The whole thing.
Really?
The whole thing. Yeah.
I mean, so many times you hear the stories of, well, I was out there for 4 days and I worked for 10 minutes, you know?
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah. Well, you did a whole lot of sitting in the vehicle and talking, but we did get to beat them up quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah. We had two. We had a TRD Pro and a Trail Hunter, which is like a new model. And we were in Utah in the middle of nowhere. We were in Tickaboo, Utah. It was 220 miles from civilization. The city, like there wasn't even a city. There was a couple houses, some trailers, and like a little cabin. And it only runs on diesel generators, the whole area.
Tickaboo,
Utah.
Wow. And who picked this location?
They did. I guess. I don't know. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I can tell you that much. But we had a lot of fun. They had everything. The views were crazy. The mountains out there were crazy. And then we ended up in Little Sahara Dunes the last day we were there, and it was fun. It was a good time.
By the way, I apologize for the random wave. There are people going by us here all day long, and Hall of Famer Dan Binks from Corvette Racing just walked by, soon to be on the show, by the way. So, yeah, that's super cool. Maybe we should fill the fans in on, since you're sitting here, you are a factory Toyota driver, short course off-road, now competing in Pro 4. You've done it all the way up through winning championships, which, by the way, as I was doing a little bit of homework on you brushing up, I totally forgotten that you won championships and Pro Buggy, Super Buggy, as we know.
Buggy.
But then working your way up through and winning championships all along the way. So monster-supported Toyota Pro 4 driver, and that's why you're out there having some fun with the Toyota boys.
Yep. My dad's the second longest Toyota factory driver to Ivan Stewart right now.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It's pretty crazy. Every year we go there. And we do like the media day with them guys.
Yeah,
Motorsports Day. Yep. Yeah. And it's always Ivan and us two sitting at a table together, and it's just like a flashback every single time we're there, because those two are like the two longest ones, and we see all these new people coming and going, and it's always us three sitting at the same table.
That's awesome.
And he said he was just, where were you driving from with your buddy? You just said
Tickaboo.
You said you brought up Ivan Stewart.
Oh yeah, so I flew home last night. I landed in Green Bay last night at 6, and then left at 6 a.m. this morning to get here. And on the ride here, one of my buddies who's involved in the off-road industry, races UTVs, big part in a lot of different teams. we were talking about Ivan Stewart, and he's like, "Who's Ivan Stewart?" And I'm like, "No, you gotta be, you're kidding, right?"
Come on, guy.
I'm like you're lying to me, right? He's like, "No, for real. Like, who's Ivan Stewart?" I'm like, man, I don't know if this is real life right now.
Don't know
As
if
you
we can hang
slowly
out.
pull over to the side of the road, get out.
Yeah,
Just
you're gonna have to get out
Get out
now.
of the car.
That's the line.
Yeah.
It's great stuff, man. So super cool that you're able to take advantage of that and be part of that family. This guy knows Toyota as well as anybody, and the players that are in the upper echelon of the company here in the U.S. But a very, very loyal company.
Very loyal. We've been, like I said, my dad's been with them since one of the very first years that he started racing, and my first super buggy that I got into had a Toyota engine in it right from the get-go. And I got support and contingency through that. And then
What engine would that have been then?
It was a four-cylinder.
Four-cylinder.
They weren't 2 liters, I don't think.
No.
Oh, so then I bet it was like the
Like a
midget motor.
1.6 or something.
Would it have been like the midget motor, maybe? Like what they run on the...
No, it was like out of like an old Tacoma. They were legit actual crate motors.
Well, maybe now, like that midget motor today. Yeah.
the midget
I don't know how
motor.
big that midget motor is that they have today, but yeah, I mean, that's what
But
they
it
ran
came
in all
from
the...
TRD, right?
Yeah.
Well,
they
we
were...
get them from Bruce Newgrady. You probably know
Oh,
Bruce.
yeah. Bruce O'Grady did the one year that I ran Pro Buggy.
Yep.
I had the same thing, a Bruce
Yep.
O'Grady motor. Yeah, so they were allowed race engines back then.
Yeah.
Now they're pretty much all
Now they all run Ecotechs. And slowly making the switch to the Polaris engine now.
Oh, really?
Because the Ecotech's gone.
Okay.
Chevy stopped making
So
that.
so that's from a 4-cylinder to a twin.
Nope. The
That
Polaris,
new Polaris
the Pro R
2-liter.
engine is
Gotcha.
is a Ecotech.
Okay.
When the Cobalt stopped and the Ecotech stopped being produced, somehow they got a good amount of the rights to it, and they changed it up and made it their own to some extent. And now that's the engine that we get it. We know it, that comes in a Pro R, and some people are now starting to make the switch to them and putting them in super buggies.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I really loved the super buggy era. You'd hear those things; they would scream, and of course,
same engines that like Jeff, Kincaid, my dad, all ran in Pro Lights.
Right.
When it first started.
Wow.
It was the same engine that was in a super buggy.
So they built all these race engines, high winding, screaming race engines, but slowly it morphed to that Ecotech. It was a little torque monster.
Yep.
And it started beating the race engines. You'd spend so much money building the race engines,
Right.
and they would literally go to a junkyard and buy an Ecotech motor and throw it in the back of the car.
Really?
One of the best engines I ever had came out of a wrecked junkyard car in Green Bay. And when I went to get it, they just grabbed onto it and they had a blowtorch and they just cut anything that was connected to it. The engine mounts off of it. You got it. It had everything hanging on it still. Like there was still half the engine compartment hanging there. And they're like, here's your engine.
Yeah, back your truck up.
Yeah,
throw
it was
in.
just dirty, stained. It looked like you're like, there ain't even no way this thing's even going to run. And it was one of the best ones we ever had.
Then you were a cheater.
Then you're a cheater.
You got back there and you're a cheater.
Then you're a cheater. You had a 25,000 mile junkyard engine in it.
Great stuff. When you think back to now that you have so much experience and you've been in the big trucks, the Pro Light and the Pro 2s, Pro 4s, side by side, a ton of, would you agree that Super Buggy is still the most difficult to drive?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's one of the most technical. It's one of the only cars that has, the only car, maybe other than like a single buggy, that has a steering brake in it. A turning brake in it. So, and back then we weren't allowed sequentials either. We were only allowed an H pattern. So you're doing an H pattern and a steering brake, and then without the torquey engines, I never got to run an Ecotech, but you got a lot going on in there.
Oh, you had to stay in a pipe, if you will. As he's talking about it, he was very good at it. For me, it was quite the challenge because the shifter and Big Rod Johnson. So the shifter and the turning brake are right here. So I never knew which one my hand was on.
Yeah.
And then you got to remember which way to push or pull the turning brake.
Yep.
I did get good at not spinning out with it. I learned to use it in the opposite direction.
The opposite direction.
Yep. So it was a lot of fun.
It's for surely one of the coolest tools. I would consider it a tool for off-road racing in general, right? I mean, to be able to go in there and lock up each wheel individually is something that a lot of people are like, man, I can't even believe that would become a thing in a sport like that. But with a rear engine car and engine hanging out the back and you can't get it to turn, sometimes it needs a little assistance.
Yep. A cool tool, and that's why they referred to me, by the way, in that. Big
Gotcha.
Rod Johnson from San Quentin. That's who I was back in the day. All right, we're off and running here with CJ Greaves. We'll be right back. So the
I
live
think
bait
they had
goes to
split-
boom, and then
yeah.
it goes boom, and it comes back out.
The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach. Innovation is our life force.
Welcome back to the Performance Racing Industry Show here in Indianapolis, Indiana. You're watching the Skinny here in the MAVTV booth. I'm Ken Stout. That's Rico Elmore. And CJ Greaves has joined us here this week. We appreciate him spending the time here as we wrap up our 2023 season. Looking forward to 2024. Of course, our home here at MAVTV is where you can watch it all go down. Man, I want to talk to you about the start of your career. I remember you when you were just a little dude. And matter of fact, we had the pleasure of going fishing here a couple of weeks ago with your father and some of the crew guys. But I remember looking at your dad, and I said to your dad, I said, I remember when he was in a mod cart.
Yeah.
And they'd have a rhythm section, a whoop section, and your dad would stand out there and just do this to you. Pin it.
Yep.
Just pin it. Hold it flat, man. And you dance across the top of the berms.
Yep. That came from moto. So I started motocross when I was 2.5, and I rode moto till I was 14, and then made the switch into super buggy. And when I was riding motocross, he'd be watching me out there riding, and we'd come up on like a section, and he'd see a jump or something, and he'd stop me in practice, and he'd be like, just hit it. You got it. I'm telling you, you got it. And there'd be no one jumping it. And I'd be like, you're crazy. There's no one else doing it. Why do I got to do it? And he'd be like, I'm telling you, you got it. All right. And I'd go back around the next lap, line it up, and just hit it wicked, and I would freaking make it. And there wasn't probably 1 or 2 times that I actually didn't make it. So for so many years, that was just natural. If he said I got it, he knows. I guess I got it. So from there, it just snowballed into short course, the stock carts, and then mod carts and everything else that when he was standing there and he was saying that you can do it and you got it, then I guess you got it. And now it's opposite. Now it's like ERX 2 years in a row now. There's a set of doubles along the back. There's 5 of them. And I went triple, double, or triple single. It must be 4. On the inside, it's 5. It's a split lane. On the inside, it's 5. And on the outside, it's 4. And I went triple single coming in. And we would be looking at it and walking up, and I'm like, I think we got it. And he'd be sitting there going, I don't know. And then practice would come, and I would nail it, and I'd be like, I told you we got it. And he'd be like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I'm like, you just got to hit it. You just hit her wide open. But no, it's always been fun, and he's never led me wrong. So when he says go, that means go.
Yeah. It's how important was that? What was the goal, by the way, starting off in motocross? Did you see that? Did Johnny see that as a path for you for a while, or was it always a plan to cut your teeth there and then come over?
I think the goal in the beginning was to go pro motocross. I ran with Factory Kawasaki there for a while at the end, and then right towards the very end of my career, there was already things in the works with Yamaha, and then short course at that time was when Core was going on and started getting really big. And my dad's like, I think it's in our interest, better interest, to get you in a cage where you don't have to give up 110% of your life and then one crash completely change it, right?
Yeah.
He's like, if we do this right, we can run a really successful team, we can race, we can have fun, and it's a lot like motocross. Other than you're in a cage, you still get to hit jumps and slide, and you're in the dirt, you're pulling tear-offs the same. It's really very, very similar. You're just protected. So
you mentioned Thomas Covington earlier.
Yeah.
Did you run with him?
Yeah. So Thomas and I, that's how Mitch and my dad and actually our home monster deal became a thing.
Okay.
Really?
Mitch was working for a garbage truck company and got transferred to Oshkosh. So I started racing against Thomas
he
at
must
my
have
local
really made
races.
somebody mad to get transferred to Oshkosh.
Yeah, right?
Oh,
You're going to
love it.
You're
Oshkosh.
going to Oshkosh from
Congratulations.
Alabama. From
Good
Alabama.
promotion for you.
Yeah.
So I started racing against him all the time. And then my dad and his dad started talking. And Thomas talks a lot more now than he did back then.
And that ain't a lot.
No, and that ain't a lot
That
now
ain't a
yet.
lot.
Back then he really didn't talk hardly. So Thomas and I wouldn't hardly talk, but Mitch and my dad started talking, and then Mitch actually became our sponsorship agent for helping our race team.
He was your PR guy.
He was our PR guy.
And he was also, like you say, your
Yeah.
agent.
Yeah, and then he ended up getting us in with Monster, and at the same time, within a year later, they wanted to hire him, and they ended up hiring him, and he still kind of did some work on the side with us, and then eventually he went through all the steps, and now he's like one of the head guys there that runs the whole show and
Doing a hell of a job.
and
Yeah.
we're still part of the family, so it's
We all love
been a
Mitch.
snowball.
We all love Mitch, but from what I understand, we don't want to go fishing with him.
No, I actually didn't go fishing with him. My dad went fishing with him. But
What's the
and you got to
insight
come on
that?
So the insight on that is Johnny says, so Mitch Covington is, would you call him, is he president of
No,
he's not president
He's the director of
he's way up the ladder with
marketing.
marketing or
marketing,
something.
right. So he's way up the
job.
ladder, but he's this ball of energy. He's always a hoot
little
to be
Alabama
around.
guy.
Yeah, and he's with that Alabama accent. Right?
Yep.
They go fishing together. He loves to fish, so he gets on the boat with Johnny. And Johnny says, next thing I know, he says the bait goes, and then it comes back by because Mitch is like not paying any attention. He just goes like this with the rod and back forward. So the
I
live
think
bait
they had
goes
squid,
boom, and then
yeah.
it goes boom, and it comes back out. He said, you just don't want to go fishing with him. He said, I'm like, oh my God, what happened there? And Mitch is like, what? What happened?
And then they run out of bait, and my dad's a little bit of a clean freak with his boat, which is really weird because he's not really a clean freak with anything else, but he likes his boat clean. And they're out on the boat, and they run out of bait, and he said the next thing he turned around, right on top of the counter, Mitch has got a fish, and he's just cutting it down, cutting it open, making bait. And he's like, there's blood everywhere. He's like, there's chunks of fish laying on the ground and all the thing. And I'm trying to like clean up after him. And Mitch is just hooking it and throwing it out there, making a mess the whole time.
Oh my God.
I didn't get to see it, but I would have paid to see that because my dad doesn't like even if a fish like gets it too deep, like guts it a little bit, he's the guy that's like, well, how are we going to get that out? And I'm like, well, just look the other way quick because I'm ripping that out. My dad's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. So I can only imagine the look on his face when he turned around and saw Mitch just cutting this fish up to make some more bait. Maybe I need to start in the trash truck business.
Don't rule it out, man. Don't rule it out. You're taking a look at a 28-year-old, highly accomplished short course off-road racer. His name is CJ Greaves. Great to have him on the show with us here. As I say, highly accomplished. Do you know how many championships you have? I counted up. I have a count. I know I'm close. But do you know?
Are we including UTVs?
Yes.
I think like 17.
That's what I got.
Is that what you got?
Boom. That's what I got. I got 17. So I have
Nice
7
work.
Pro
First
4.
time this has happened.
7. First time I've ever been right. 7 Pro 4 championships.
8.
Oh, is it 8 now?
I'm 8 on my own this. So it was a 3-way. We were a 3-way tie.
That was short-lived.
With 7.
Well, I
Me,
can't,
Kyle,
clearly
and my
can't
dad were 7, and I went to 8.
Gotcha.
I have
4
4 pro stock,
4 Pro stock, 3 Pro 2,
Somebody
2
gets
Pro
calculated.
buggy,
1 pro
Pro mod.
turbo.
Yep.
But 8 on the Pro 4 now.
Okay.
So we were both off then.
I probably didn't count this year,
You probably didn't count this year. Maybe I didn't either.
but that's pretty cool, man.
Year's
That's-
not up yet.
Can
so
you
guys
imagine
are
that?
good.
28 years old. I mean, 90. I have 98 wins. That's Pro Light, Pro 2,
2,
Pro
Pro
4.
4.
Right at the brink of 100 here, in the pro level trucks, if you will, counting the side by sides way past the century mark.
Yeah. Well, I look at it and go, the numbers are there, right? And then I think of my dad who's got over 100 wins just in Pro 4 alone,
Yeah.
just in one individual
Yeah.
class alone. And I'm like, man, I got work to do.
Yeah, he's like a
I
buck
got-
25 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a Pro 4.
Yeah. I'm like, I got not a lot of time and a lot of work to do to keep up to him.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching you progress up through the ranks, and I think there was a couple of years there as well, if I'm not mistaken, where you won Pro 2 and Pro 4 championships back to back, which I don't
3
know
years.
that anybody has ever done that. Really, really accomplished for sure. Did you see it coming this way? I mean, certainly your dad did. I mean, going back to 2006,
10.
whenever you guys made that change,
Yeah,
2005, 6?
2010.
Oh, was it that late?
It's 2010, yeah. 14 years been in it. 14 to 28.
Wow. That's amazing. Did you envision that?
No, I didn't really have any expectations coming into it. And honestly, that's something that a lot of people ask me is like, what was the pressure? Like, were you getting hounded that you had to do this or you had to do that? And I never had that pressure. I think there was more pressure, more or less coming from the outside people thinking I had that pressure than I did actually within my own team and our family and our crew. It was always, if you want to do it, but make sure you're going to do it 110%. Or if you don't want to do it, that's fine, but you got to go find something to do then, right? You're not just going to sit here and do nothing.
Go to Oshkosh and
Go to
do
Oshkosh and
trash
do
trucks.
dump trucks, trash trucks, right?
It's done good for Mitch.
Not for Mitch. Or go fly fishing with
Panned
Mitch.
out pretty good for Mitch.
Panned
Yeah,
out good for
it
Mitch.
did. It did.
That's what I'm
Maybe,
saying.
maybe I need to start in the trash truck business.
Don't rule it out, man. Don't rule it out.
So no, I'm happy with it. I'm glad that one, to be able to do it with my family is something that a lot of people never get to experience, and then to race against my dad all the time for the last 9 years, to be able to race against each other is something that 90% of the off-road world will never get to do. And never had
99%.
had the option or the opportunity to do that. So to do
When
that,
has that went wrong?
it's only ever went wrong one time. And my mom brought us in the semi and chewed both of our asses. And then that was it.
It's over.
Mama Greaves can throw down when she wants to
when
get
Mama
after
Bear
it.
comes out, watch out. Watch out. That's all I got to tell you. Watch out.
Can't forget Rob
Okay, I
Mack.
can't forget Rob Mack.
That guy is he's
He
like
started
fluid
the
motion,
smooth.
man.
He started the
The king
smooth
of
out of
smooth.
everybody.
Welcome back to the Skinny. Having a great time here with CJ Greaves. I've known him since he was a little tyke and watched him grow up and come up through the ranks. And when it comes to professional short course off-road racing, there absolutely is no better than this young gun. I said future Hall of Famer. He's 28 years old. I promise you he'll be in there, all said and done. We just had a massive loss, and the off-road family, a little choked up already talking about it, but it's happened to us a couple of times, and there's been some real players. When you think of Rick Huseman, obviously as of late, Kyle LeDuc here, who we just lost, and there's some other ones too. You know, the Jason Baldwin. There's been some other ones, and I hate calling out names because I know I'm going to forget somebody. But man, watching you and Kyle do what you two did, I mean, whew, you know, it's just incredible. The level of skill, the talent, the truck has to be competitive to be able to do what you guys do with them. But the outside in, once you guys decided you weren't going to kill each other anymore after year one, and you started doing this stuff, man, it was magical.
Yeah, it was, I said the same thing. Once finally we put everything aside and respected each other as racers on the track for what it was going to be on the track, and what's off the track is off the track. And we finally started like giving it, like, if I went outside the first time, he didn't run me wide and just let me stay outside. And then we raced to the next turn. It was like, all right, well, now I'm on the inside. I'll make sure I stay tight, give you the space. And from there, it just snowballed to all these different races. And it came down the last couple of years there with some of the most epic videos, battle to the finish races that you will ever see in short course history. I think for some reason, ERX was always a really good one. We had some really good ones there. We had some good ones at Bark River, Crandon, all of them. And we were both just, once we finally were good with everything the way it was, we were able to just go at it. And our spotters both respected each other, and we both respected each other's spotters and everything. And we'd get done. It was races that were just like, man, that was freaking awesome. It was things that will probably never be replaced and never be able to be replicated again. So Kyle was filled a very, very big spot in short course off-road. From the person he was on social media to at the track to his driving style. And he kind of had a lot of the Rick Huseman in him of just go for it, and whatever happens, happens. Some days it worked, some days it didn't, but it always made the highlight reel, right? There was always something that weekend that made the highlight reel, whether it was actually winning races or not. There was usually some bad that happened throughout it. So he'll definitely be missed in the sport, and all of us racers and everything are going to miss him and his crew and his family, and just not having that. Not only that, we were also monster teammates and then Toyo Tires teammates as well. So it's going to be different.
Yeah, it was. It's funny you say that because, I mean, he was a fearless guy, and he'd always be the guy that would tell me, if I didn't scare myself at least once a race, I knew I wasn't trying hard enough. I'm like, that's hanging it out pretty far. And I think that's, I don't know if you do that, man, but you probably do, but I don't see it. Your style is so different. I mean, I don't think anybody would argue with me whenever I say you're the smoothest driver I've ever watched. I'll take that back. You and Ricky Johnson. Ricky Johnson is also incredibly smooth.
And Rob Mack.
Oh, Rob Mack. Yeah,
well, put Rob Mack in there.
Yeah, you can't forget Rob Mack.
Yeah, I can't forget Rob Mack.
That guy is, he's
he
like fluid motion,
smooth.
man.
He started the smooth
king of
out of
smooth.
everybody.
You look in Webster and you see smooth and there's a picture of him.
Yep, with air shocks. Because he was
oh
the
my
first
God,
one
the air shock deal.
in the Pro 4s. I don't who owned it. He ran for a different team at the time when Pro 4s first started.
Yeah, I know.
And it had air shocks, and it was hurting everybody. And he'd just slow down because he said it hurt.
Oh yeah.
And that's I think maybe that's what made him
everybody
so
for 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, like every race you could win.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was
and
the
then
master.
The third year, no more air shocks.
No more air shocks.
No more air shocks, and then no more Rob McCachran. Yeah, they made a rule against it, and Rob didn't come back. That was what they had.
Yeah,
it was so funny because I talked to him about it. He said, "Man, I don't think they were a big advantage." I'm like,
no, and you asked him about it, they hurt. He's like, a lot of the times, like when we were first trying to get them sorted out, they physically hurt to drive. Just know when them first two get to you, hold on because it's about to get a little bumpy.
The Skinny is brought to you by American Coach. American Coach, innovation is our life force. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since 04.
Welcome back to the Skinny. I'm Ken Stout. That's Rico Elmore sitting alongside here. And we have CJ Greaves on the set with us as well, talking about short course off-road racing. Of course, he is the son of Johnny Greaves. We were talking about the 17, 18 championships. Something else that has come along with that are these big cup races that a lot of the fans out there watching might not be familiar with, but Pro 2 versus Pro 4. You've had cup races with just Pro 2s, just Pro 4s. I mean, there's been a gamut of them across the board. Of course, your father has won 8 of them. You've won 11 of them, the most since 1998 of anybody that I've documented, to come in there and run those big races. Are they the best? Are they the most fun races of the year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the cup races are always fun because there's no points, right? You leave it all on the line. You go out there, and everyone kind of has the same mentality that it's a cup race, right? So everyone races a little bit different. Everyone kind of goes for broke a little bit more, and nobody's patient. You go in there, and some of them being Pro 2 versus Pro 4, some of them not. When we're in these multi-class ones, being most of the time, a couple of the times I've ran a Pro 2. I've won it twice in a Pro 2 or 3 times in a Pro 2 with the Pro 4s chasing us. You're not the alpha dog. You're just the mouse running away. But when you're in the Pro 4...
That's a great way to put it.
when you're in the Pro 4, you become alpha. And especially if you're one of the top 2 Pro 4s, basically if you're one of the Pro 2s, especially like from the end of the pack to like 3/4 of the pack, just know when them first 2 get to you, hold on because it's about to get a little bumpy. Because there's no patience, right?
We gotta go.
There's no patience. You got to make some room, and everyone kind of expects it, right? In a cup race, they all have that same mentality that they're like, yeah, when the Pro 4s are coming, we know they're coming, and when they get close, they usually don't wait long. So that always makes it a lot of fun because not that you ever want to go in there and bash each other or do anything like that.
Well, you know they've got spotters. The spotters are telling them, like, if you don't get out of the way when your spotter told you we're coming, like you deserve it.
Yeah, and what's funny is you almost sense like the panic in them. Like when you catch them, you see them all start doing like one of these, like, where am I gonna go? Am I gonna try to get out of the way? You'll see them like coming into a turn, like trying to pick and choose in their mind. You see the wheels turning, like, am I gonna just try to get out of the way, or am I gonna try to like hold them up?
Or race
not let
the
them
guy
by.
in front of me, try to use this guy as a pick,
Yeah,
because they're in the middle of a race.
Yeah, like and you're still racing your class guys, and then these dudes are getting in the middle of it, and it's 1 overall. It just gets chaotic real quick, but it always makes one of the most fun things to watch for spectators, as long as they know what's going on and that there's multiple classes that's going on. And, excuse me, it's fun for the racers. It's like a whole new level.
What have you never raced that you wished you could?
I want to race the Chili Bowl. And then, so I've had
Coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
way back when, being with Toyota, there was an option to run the Chili Bowl a long time ago.
Shagman get you in a car.
I know. I just, with KOH and the Chili Bowl are always within a week or so of each other. And we end up we just don't have enough time to do them both.
KOH is King of the Hammers.
King of the Hammers, yeah.
And you'll be sick as death by the time you leave the Chili Bowl.
I did hear that also. So
I can assure you of that.
Between the Chili Bowl and like the 24-hour Le Mans cars, I would like to do that. I ran a 12-hour race at Mid-Ohio with one of my buddies and loved every minute of it.
What kind of car were you in?
And a gearbox, H-pattern, BMW, like 325, just gutted out. And
so when you say the 24 hours of Daytona, you don't really care what kind of car. You just would like to run the endurance race.
Yeah, but I love the
GTPs.
Yeah, and the
everybody
effort
does.
they
They're
put
Indy
into
cars
them,
with
right
bodies on them.
Yeah, even like Lexus has a team that they just developed was like a year.
GT Pro.
Yeah, 2 teams. Yep.
So I would love to go do some of that stuff too, but
you know anybody in Toyota?
Apparently not.
So that's a high level gig too, and they've got some bad dudes. Jack Hawksworth, former IndyCar driver. They got some bad dudes in those cars. So
yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, and the accomplishments. I mean, the stuff that they were able to do this year for Lexus, and I mean, that's you can ask them. That's not a race car, but they made it that.
Yeah.
And I mean,
is this their second year with it?
Yeah.
I think it's more than that.
I thought they just came back.
They won the championship last year.
2023 or 2022?
2023.
But I thought they just came back in like 2022.
It's still 23, but go ahead.
Right. I don't know if they won it in 2022. I couldn't tell you. He said last year.
He's ripping on you because you said they won the championship last
year.
And then I said 2022 or 2023.
Well, this year's over. Everybody knows that.
Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. What was I thinking?
Hey, there's 3 kinds of people that can do math. Those that can and those that can't.
We know where you're at. It's fine.
Cool stuff, though. Those cars are absolutely incredible. No question.
Yeah.
No question about it. It's a great question, by the way, because I know you have been provided some opportunity to drive super late and potentially a path to go to Cup, and you spent a little bit of time in those cars.
Yeah, so I when Kyle Busch was with Toyota, I ended up staying in North Carolina throughout all of it, almost 2 months, throughout different parts. Tested with KBM a couple times. Ran the Super Pro All-Star Series and a super late model with them, raced Greenville Pickens, tested at a couple other places, and that was something Toyota wanted me to do. KBM was really happy with it. After the first race, they said, "We're ready to go. We want you to come back." And I wasn't into it. I just wasn't into it. The style of racing.
But you know what? That's respectful. I mean, that really is, because I think there could be some people that say, "Man, I could possibly make X amount of money doing that," and said, "You know what? I'm not in it. My heart's not in it. I'm not going to run that."
And that's how I felt. And that's something. I was 18 at the time when this was all happening, and my dad sat me down and was like, "Well, you got to pick a route. You can make a lot of money doing it, but you got to make sure this is something you want to do for a while, or you can stick to off road and put all your ducks in a row there and make a career out of that too, and enjoy it and have more weekends off. But it's 100% up to you." And I sat down and throughout all the different tests and all the different races, and it had nothing to do with the teams or the crew. I enjoyed my time there. They were all super nice, willing to do anything for me and help me learn as I went through it all. And my heart just wasn't in it. The style of racing. So when we raced at Greenville Pickens, basically we committed to a tire saving game plan before the race started. We sat down and we built a game plan, and that was what we stuck to the whole entire race. And it depended on cautions, is what it really did. It depended on cautions and saving tires. So for laps after laps, we would just be 0.2 slower than him, and he would just tell me the lap time of the leader, and it'd be like 1/10 slower, 1/10 faster. And they're like, there's so many cautions in these type of races usually that you do that 4 or 5 times, you got 30 lap better tires than them. When we think we're within the last 10 laps of the race, 15 laps, said that's enough right there that you can about pick and choose where you want to go. Well, we went 125 laps without a caution. So I drove around in the back by myself the whole entire time.
Oh, man.
And after they took the white, the leaders were battling, and they just had me move up out of the way. And when they got done, they weren't mad, they weren't nothing. They were just like, yeah, it didn't work out. And
You're
I was like,
yeah, no kidding. I backmarkered it. What are you talking about?
And I was kind of like, I don't know that this is something I really want. I want
By
to be
the
able
way,
to go
you
out
did a
there.
great job. Coming back next week, we're going to teach you a fuel save rate.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then we're gonna run out of gas on the white flag lap.
Go now. No, out of gas.
Pit strategy.
So the only thing out of it all that actually made sense is there was one car that saved tires with me, but at halfway he took off, and I was gonna go with him, and they're like, nope, let him go. That guy won. It's all about the relationship between the driver and the crew chief.
Welcome back to the Skinny. Yeah, the shenanigans that goes on during break time is like no other, especially between this guy and one of our engineers, Mr. Steve Grind. They've been going at it. You would never know that this guy bought him sweet potato fries. Is that what he's raving about back there?
No, sweet potatoes from
Tony's. Just a sweet potato?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
man.
He was like snorting it at the table.
Hey, Steve, cinnamon and butter, buddy? Oh, yeah.
Sweet potato.
Yes.
Dude, that place is so legit.
So one of the steakhouses, and there's no shortage of them here in the Circle City, as it's referred to many times. Of course, the home of motorsports racing as well, Capital Motorsports. And
thanks, Steve. We could have went to P.F. Chang's.
He'd have ordered the chicken fingers there. CJ Greaves, by the way, sitting on the set with us. This is kind of the weekend we had when I was down there. I visited you guys.
Yep.
And I told a couple of these guys, we had Johnny Greaves on the boat, CJ Greaves on the boat, 2 crew members on the boat. Your mom's as big a racing fan as anybody on the planet on the boat. And then one of the crew members' girlfriends as well.
And yourself.
And myself. And we didn't talk about racing the entire day, which I thought back on your dad and I a little bit. I mean, a little bit.
Very little. Yeah.
But nothing with you guys. I'm like, I can't believe we just went through this whole day with these people on the boat and no racing was ever discussed.
We were busy drinking.
Wow.
And not making a mess
you
of the
guys
boat.
were working hard fishing.
Also true. Yeah, we were fishing.
You guys are pulling them up, man.
That's what we were trying to do. That's what we like to do out there.
Hey, man, I'm curious, when you were growing up and when you started working your way into mod carts, let's say, that level, did you realize who your dad was, or was that just dad?
That was just dad at the time. I knew obviously he was good at what he did, and what's really funny about it all is how many people said that we never thought you paid attention the whole time you were ever there growing up. Because I was really just out running around. Like, I ran around. I was never in the pits, didn't make the dinner call, everyone there was my friend. I would eat somewhere. Somebody would feed me somewhere.
It's a huge playground for all the families, the racing families and the kids.
Yep. And all the racers, for the most part, all had kids. So we had like our own little posse that just went and terrorized the whole area. And then getting into the racing side slowly, like into the youth carts and then mod carts. And I realized that it was a little bit more important, a little bit bigger than just running around at the races, right? And then started paying attention a little bit more and a little bit more. And obviously, with my dad being one of the greatest in short course history.
It's okay to say, man, because he is.
Yeah. It was like, okay, there's the team here. You had to almost step back and take it all back in and go, all right, we need to reset.
Reevaluate.
Yeah,
here,
we need to reevaluate. And it was never projected to me as this holy grail of our team or anything like that. To me, it was second nature the whole time. All of our crew guys, all of our family, I mean, majority of the time, until I went pro in a full-size car, it was all our family. It was my dad, my uncle, Brad, who is still my dad's crew chief to this day. So it's been people that were my family since I was newborn or actual family the whole time. So to me, it was just going out and hanging out with the family like any other holiday almost. So
How long has Brad been there?
I don't even know. I don't think
Man,
he even
as
knows.
long as
You ask him and he doesn't, he'll sit there
long
and
time.
kind of crinkle some numbers and just, yeah, it's been a while. And my mechanic, Devin, he's been with me since I started. He was volunteering for our race team when it was McGrath and Marty Hart era of helping on the Pro 2. And I was still running a Pro Buggy or Super Buggy and a Pro Light under my own tent, under the Traxxas tent. When I first started, we were 2 separate teams. So then when I got old enough and was able to make the switch back under the Monster awning, Devin became my head mechanic and has been the same guy since day one.
Wow. That is super cool. Says a lot about who you guys are. Says a lot about who the team is as well. The integrity and the loyalty. That is super cool for sure.
Yeah. And
Part of a legendary team now, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't ask for it to be any different. I mean, I tell everyone that asks, like, what's your best advice for someone that has a team or is racing or whatever? It's all about the relationship between the driver and the crew chief. If you can get them, if you guys can be on the same respect level, you're going to go a long ways, because you know that they're not just trying to get the truck on the track then. They want to win as bad as you want to win. And I think one of the big turning points with Devin and I, not that it was ever bad or anything like that. It was never bad. He was obviously with me from the beginning. But one day we were having a rougher season. We built a new front end on the truck and was just struggling with getting it to do what I wanted it to do. And after every race, we'd just come back in, we'd sit in the trailer, just him and I, and we'd talk about it, to what he saw, to what I felt. And he would tell me what he thinks changes he could make, and I would tell him changes that I think could be different, and we'd just go from there. And one of the races, it was a lap to go, or a lap and a half to go. And he said, all I want is you to give me your very best. That's it. He said, I don't care what place it is. If you're only good for 5th that day, you're only good for 5th. If you can win for that day, then I want you to win. But just give me your very best that day, and I'll make sure you have the very best truck to go out there. And from that day on, we've never missed a beat.
Want to get the skinny on other guests and different types of motorsports? Check out our YouTube page and get the skinny. The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach. American Coach, innovation is our life force.
Once again, welcome back to the MAVTV booth. We're here at the PRI show in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm Ken Stout. That's Rico Elmore. You're watching the Skinny. That is 7-time, 18-time champ. 19. Should we give you another one? 19? Or should we just round it off? Round it up once? They're coming anyways.
They're coming.
CJ Greaves, of course, son of Johnny Greaves. And we talked a lot about your dad. I should let everybody know. I mean, I said you're a future Hall of Famer. If he's not in the Hall of Fame, he should be there right now. And Crandon is a big part of that new Hall of Fame that we talked about starting a year ago. They're putting something together. Crandon Raceway, Crandon, Wisconsin, home of the biggest, most prestigious short course off-road races on the planet. So big part of the history up there is the Greaves. The Potawatomis have been a huge part of your family and sponsorship of that team as well. And you certainly have served them very well all along the way. With that said, short course off-road racing has been a bit tumultuous here as of late. So what do you got planned for 2024?
We're going champ racing, I guess, right?
Okay. I guess you are.
I guess. We plan still. My dad's going to run another year yet. So we'll have 2 Pro 2s or Pro 4s out there, as well as still going to run with Factory Polaris in the Pro Stock and Pro Turbo category. And then King of the Hammers is always on the bucket list there every year. So with that, that's what we're going to do. We obviously have our continued sponsors with Monster, Toyota, Toyo Tires, Vision Wheel, Fox Shocks. It's been a good couple years of growing with everybody. And like last year was the first year with Toyo. That was a huge change for us. 2 years ago, I left Yamaha after 5 years and joined the Polaris side. So that's been a big learning curve, but we feel like we've got a good ironed out group back together, and we're going to keep rolling.
Hey, man, thanks for taking time, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Totally
Always
awesome.
good to spend time with you for sure. And
I'll come to Green Bay and see
Glad I
ya.
can be the skinny man on the Skinny.
Whoa! Fat joke, right?
Somebody
at the very
had to
end.
do it
That's
just to close it out.
He's a future Hall of Famer. Maybe not. Might take him a little
Yeah.
longer now.
Straight fat shamed at the end of the thing.
Right. CJ Greaves, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you later.